Hello, friends. We're back, and look, this time I brought help because everybody decided me talking solo for 20 minutes, Arlo Guthrie style, was not anything anyone was particularly interested in. So welcome back from Special Assignment, Cassidy.
You know, I don't know how I feel about knowing that I can be replaced by mayonnaise and fatheads, but I feel like I'm welcome back, so that's at least encouraging.
I'm writing that down right now. Mayonnaise and fatheads. No, it wouldn't be a happy half hour without you. And it is week 1, friends. It is that time. We got football to talk about.
We do.
We've been spending so much time this offseason talking about global themes.
Exponential ideas.
You know, we've just been way out here, and it's time to get down in here because it's football time. There's a game this Sunday, and the Carolina Panthers are going to be in it against the Jacksonville Jaguars. And all that abstract stuff we've been talking about is going to become a concrete reality. And frankly, I am grateful for that.
Finally, you know how Steve Spurrier always called the offseason like talking season? Mm-hmm. Now we're finally ready to put boot to ball, as they say, get back on the grass.
Boot to ball.
Yeah, have you ever heard that one?
I don't think I've ever heard that one. Is that Alabama or is that English?
I don't think I made it up.
That would be a good parlor game. Alabama or English?
You know, I don't know if you know this, but modern Southern English is the closest thing we have to Shakespeare, because Shakespeare, that like time period in England, that is how commoners spoke, and that's really how a lot of English people spoke, and which is what, when people came over to America, like pilgrims and stuff, and that was their accent, and they kind of settled down into the southern part of America, starting in Virginia, and then the royal family in England, like that sect, you know, lords and ladies and dukes and duchesses, wanted to separate themselves from the common people, so they started speaking in a different accent and a different tone, and that became what is the modern English accent. And the English accent of Shakespeare's time is what is most closely related to Appalachia. It's Appalachia.
All right, I'm going to have to push the button on you now.
So,
we're going to have to end this story because you said it wrong. It's Appalachia. It's got an L-A-T-C-H sound.
If you want to hear Shakespeare as it was meant to be performed, have a Southerner perform it.
Forsooth. I did not know what this had to do with Duke's mayonnaise, but here we are. All right, football. Bryce Young, Jacksonville Jaguars. Let's get it on. Bryce has been it's been so interesting to me. Bryce, we kind of know by this point, Bryce is not that rearview mirror guy. He's not one to look back or put things into historical perspective.
That's why he has us.
He is focused on the thing in front of his feet right now, and he does a good job of compartmentalizing everything. So I don't think it was a surprise when he was talking yesterday that he's just like, man, I'm on this now. I'm looking forward. And the interesting part about that is Bryce has something different to look at now than he did a week ago this time, because a week ago this time, roughly, he thought he was going to be throwing to XLT Mack and Adam Thielen, and now he's got XLT Mack and Hunter Renfrow.
And no Jalen Coker.
There
was Jalen Coker in there as well.
It's been an adjustment for him, and to me, that puts so much pressure on him this week, not that there's any more or less than there was already, but he's going to have to adjust on the fly to a thing that none of us really predicted. I mean, they shuffled the deck a little bit. It's still a group they like, but it's a very different group because now you're mixing a 29-year-old Hunter Renfrow into the 30-whatever-year-old Adam Thielen spot from the other day.
And Adam Thielen was a known commodity. You knew exactly what you were going to get out of him, which was usually consistency. That was the most important thing. And he was, I don't even want to say a safety blanket for Bryce, because a safety blanket indicates a last option. He was a first option a lot of time. He was his number one target. What does the offense look like without that? Coaches have talked a lot about T-Mac this offseason and the possibility of him kind of being that number one guy. We know Bryce is at his best when he's distributing and when he's playing point guard. He doesn't necessarily, this is so cliche because we've heard it over and over, but he doesn't necessarily need a number one guy.
Right.
And so, does it work kind of in his favor, or does it not hurt him? Maybe that's the better way of saying it. Does it not hurt him really like it would maybe another quarterback to lose an Adam Thielen, to have, the Jalen Coker, Hunter Renfrow switcheroo going on with Jalen Coker going on IR? That's we're yet to find out. We'll find out on Sunday. But I do think that Bryce's skill set can weather a loss such as that a little bit better than maybe some other quarterbacks.
Yeah, and I think what happens when we're in the training camp portion of the year, but we see a lot of 7-on-7. We see a lot of what amounts to passing drills on air. Let's be honest. When we get to whatever they're calling that stadium right now in Jacksonville.
Everbank?
Okay, sure, that. When we get to Everbank Stadium on Sunday, you know who's going to go center stage on this thing? Not all those fancy, pretty receiving routes. These two cats right here. Chuba Hubbard, Rob Hunt, everybody. And by the way, Rob Hunt popped up on the injury report with a foot. We'll see how he is. Check Panthers.com for your latest injury updates all day long, but especially later this afternoon. And then this guy right here. This offense is still going to run through Chuba Hubbard, and I am convinced that for all the talk about Bryce and receiving targets and everything else, these first couple games are going to be, let's get back to those basics that we do really well. And we know this guy right here does those things really well.
I want to do this, but I don't want to do this. I almost want to, grab a piece of paper
This isn't
going to
be another 3.5-minute Shakespearean soliloquy,
I think that was like a minute and a half.
All right.
We should each take a piece of paper and write down what we think the first play will be, and then we look at it next week to see who was right.
Yeah, well, I've already written mine down in this notebook. We'll see.
Okay, well, I don't want to put mine out there in case I'm right. I don't want to give away anything.
See, that's the difference between me and you. I don't want to put mine out if I'm wrong. But anyway, I just think, and Brad Idzik talked about this morning. I mean, there is a Rico Dowdle here for a reason, and the reason is because they want to continue to run the ball. What they did last year with Chuba was a good start to what they wanted to do. Rico adds to that, and it also gives you the opportunity to spell him through the season so that he's got gas left in the tank in December, because we've seen it before with different Carolina Panther teams under different coaches. When you can run on people in December, that's when you can demoralize somebody. I don't think anybody who was at the December 22 game against Detroit when it was about minus 150 degrees. It was football on Hoth out here at Bank of America Stadium. And I remember that so vividly because Chuba and Deontay Foreman were able to basically take the souls straight out of the Detroit Lions that day and make them their own. And when you can do that, that buys you so much time to be Bryce Young, to pew the ball around the way you want to. And especially at a time when there are questions to be answered about the Carolina Panthers defense, I think that's super valuable. So we'll see how it goes on Sunday, see who gets that first play of the game. But I would be willing to bet that this guy right here gets a lot of action and a lot of action early just to try to establish what they want to be about.
And I wouldn't be surprised if we even see some equal numbers of carries between he and Rico, or maybe equal number of touches, because Rico can kind of flex out a little bit some too, and just kind of keep defense back on their heels a little bit, or even better, have them cheating up, and then you can throw downfield to a guy like T-Mac. And when you have a stable of backs, to your point, when the other team knows what you're doing and you still are able to do it, that's probably one of the better feelings on a football field. ETN could factor into that some. He's probably going to be active because he is their primary returner now, and so you've got that to go. You've got him to go in as a spell as well, and all three of them are very, very different. And so you can keep your running back game, or you can keep your running game going in a myriad of ways, which is always helpful.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And again, that's going to be important to me because everything is so unsettled and we don't know. You want to talk about abstract concept? I have no idea what the Carolina Panthers defense is going to look like on Sunday. I believe it's going to be better. I believe it's going to be more stable. Having a big old Derek Brown in the middle of it makes everything better behind him. But we don't know particularly how that's going to look. I mean, what you're going to get out of Tershawn Wharton as a rusher from inside. Yeah. How many snaps you're going to be able to get out of Nick Scorton and Princely backing up Pat Jones and DJ Wanham. I think the plan is just to have those guys come at you in waves a little bit and use them in different
packages,
different orientations, just to keep people off balance a little bit, because right now they're the group with the most to prove. I mean, for all the stuff you want to say about changes in the wide receiver room, this is still about that offensive line, which Ike Ekwonu's still kind of up in the air. We'll see what he does on Friday in practice. That's what Dave Canales said. He's a little bit up in the air based on that appendectomy last week. But if Hickey's not able to play, you go Yosh Nyman or Brady Christensen, and then that's still the rest of a really good line that you know well from last year. That's still the base of it. We know that much. On the other side, not so much. And that's why I think getting Derek back in there is just central to everything, because I think the thing we lost sight of last year when he was gone is just how good Derek Brown is at football.
And A'Shawn Robinson was able to step in a huge way. What do those two look like together now? That's what I'm kind of excited to see. And you wrote about this a little earlier in the offseason, but, you know, A'Shawn Robinson played a lot of snaps last year. He played more snaps than he's ever played in his career, bar a season that went into the playoffs. So in a regular season, this is the most he's ever played. And now he can be able to catch his breath. He can do that in a rotation. You know, does that make a difference? Does that help him when he goes out there? Although he also talked about wanting to rush more, and he definitely got to do that some last year.
Yeah. I mean, listen.
It's going to take a little bit of time. I don't think whatever we see on Sunday is necessarily going to be, you know, that's the 2025 iteration of this defense. But it'll be an interesting start, especially because about the pass rushers as well. We've seen them working interchangeably. You know, it's not like, okay, if Wanham's out there, then Pat Jones is out there. And if Nick Scorton's out there, then Princely's out there. We've seen them interchange where it's Wanham and Princely or vice versa. You know, it's been a lot of different looks with all four of those guys.
Yeah, and I don't know if you're looking at last year's stats or what. My eyes are terrible. A'Shawn had what, 5.5 sacks last year, 5.5, 6.5?
I think he was tied with 5.5. But
so something like that. He was right in that range. Tershawn Wharton had 8.5 sacks for the Chiefs if you include the playoffs, and why not? Let's count that. So they've got guys who can rush from inside up front, and to me that's the biggest difference in this year's defense is you've got a more capable front line, which just enables all the other stuff behind it to be that much better. You've spent a lot of time this week on the Jaguars itself, and, I mean, when you look at their offense, everybody knows about that shiny new Travis Hunter, but they've got a lot of parts over there for Trevor Lawrence. I mean, whether it's Brian Thomas, whether it's their own Etienne brother that they've got dudes over there on that side of the ball.
And they lost some of that, too, you know, with different trades, Christian Kirk, Evan Ingram. Is that right? But then, you know, they still got guys like Evero mentioned today with Brenton Strange and Etienne, Tank Bigsby. They've got a little bit of a stable there at running back. And, man, Brian Thomas Jr., there's going to be so much focus on Travis Hunter, understandably so. Brian Thomas Jr. made the Pro Bowl in his rookie season on a bad team, and it's because that's how just outstanding he was. He was a huge bright spot for them. So what does it look like for him now when obviously Travis Hunter is going to have to draw some attention? And, you know, does that open up Brian Thomas Jr. a little bit more? They're going to have to it's also going to be interesting because this is going to be the first time a defense has faced Travis Hunter in the NFL and the first time a defense has faced that duo of Hunter and Thomas. And so, I mean, let's be honest, the first 15 plays might be a little bit of like back on your heels, just kind of assessing some stuff, figuring out what exactly they're going to do, and then going from there.
You think so? Because I'm not sure about that. Because you know who's not really a back on his heels guy?
That's true. They might. I mean, here's what's going to be interesting, though.
J.C. Horn, speaking of people who've got stuff to prove, I mean, J.C.'s coming off that first Pro Bowl last year. And last year was that time when he kind of announced to the world what he was all about, much in the same way Derek did 2 years ago before he was injured. So I love the idea of, okay, Brian Thomas, Travis Hunter, let's see what you got, because we got one of these on this side.
I am also curious to see, like, do they switch stuff up? Because the Jags have pretty much exclusively worked Hunter in the slot. So is that a Charles Smith-Wade assignment? Is that do they move guys around? I don't know. We're going to find out.
Yeah.
Because nobody really knows yet what the Jaguars are going to actually do, because they were very, very careful and vanilla with it in the preseason as well. In fact, I don't even think Hunter played but one preseason game or something like that.
Yeah.
And so
don't get me started on preseason football. Unlike Bryce, that's in my rearview mirror, and I don't want to think about it anymore.
A'Shawn Robinson did have 5.5 sacks last year.
There you go. So I did. I nailed it. I was correct. I just wasn't clear necessarily. Yeah. So that's the second time that's happened today. We'll leave that alone. But anyway, it is all coming around. And you know what? the Carolina Panthers have started seasons in Jacksonville before,
Yes,
right?
they have.
And so you never know what can happen when we get down there and see what. Speaking of 2015,
Yes.
you weren't here then.
I was not.
You were
Let me pull
off
up my
doing
notes.
something else. Where were you in 2015?
Here's what's interesting, Darin. This is going to be really funny. I did not realize this until I turned this game on last night. I wanted to go back and watch because I was not here in 2015. I was in Florida. I was covering the Florida Gators at the time. And I was like, you know what? I want to go back and watch that season with eyes as somebody, or fresh eyes as somebody watching it for the first time. And because I would watch it passively here and there, you know, that Panthers were good.
It's hard
They
to
were,
miss the Carolina Panthers in 2015.
And so I would watch it here and there, but it was never like actively watching. So I was like, I want to go back and find these games. You can find pretty much any full NFL game on Al Gore's internet if you know where to look. It's usually YouTube.
R.I.P. streaming.
And so I pulled up that week 1 game at Jacksonville last night. I start watching this game. As I'm getting into it, it clicked. I was at this game. Like, I was in the stadium. I don't even think it was called Everbank at the time. I was in that stadium watching that game. There was like a networking event going on before the game. For any of us that work in sports know about Teamwork Online. And they were having like some networking event ahead of time. And your ticket to the event also got you a ticket to the game. So I went and sat up in the top of the stands, watched this game by myself. Didn't really know much about either team. I do remember one play vividly, though, where Cam broke off on a run. Like, it was started as a scramble, and then he ended up running up the middle, and he got a first down, and it was a big first down. And he got tackled pretty hard, and he like immediately popped up. And, you know, the screens in Jacksonville are bigger. You can see them things from the space station. And so you could see him smiling, and he like does this little dance to indicate first down and move the markers. And I was like, he is electric. And I grew up an Auburn fan, so I watched him in college. But to see him in person, I was like, this is just an electric football player. I did keep some notes as I watched this game last night, though. I'm not going to go through them all because some of them were just like stream of conscious thoughts.
Sure.
Did not realize Michael Orr had been on this team.
That's right.
That was an interesting little note.
Sandra Bullock was not.
Sandra Bullock was not. I forgot that Paul, I'm making sure I'm saying his last name right, Paul Zlesny. I forgot that he existed like as a person. And then the game started and I was like, oh yeah, he was their defense. And then same with Philly Brown. Jonathan Stewart, my apologies, wasn't familiar with your game. Wow, was he was just incredible. Like, he would just like go into a scrum and then just like pop out of it.
You've gone full Shaq on us
and I'm like,
here.
where did he come from? And he's just like bouncing off people. It was really, really impressive. I don't know, and I'm interested to see if this continues throughout the season. I can't remember watching a team before, and this was just one game, but I can't remember watching a team before where the middle linebackers are switching and moving that close to the snap and like moving around. And I guess that's the benefit of having a Luke Kuechly in there that knows everything that's going on and where everybody needs to be, that he can, you know, he's got rookie Shaq Thompson out there and he's moving him right before the snap into a different place. And I think there was one play where he like physically moved Shaq over. That was fun to watch.
No doubt. I love that.
There were so many drops in that game. And I was like, oh, you know, we think about that 2015 team as just like running through everybody.
Yep.
But there was Ted Ginn had a wide open touchdown, I think, middle of the second quarter.
You got that every now and then with Ted Ginn.
Yeah. And there was a couple. Greg Olsen had a touchdown that got negated because he pushed off. So it was OPI. There were a couple other drops.
Right.
So, yeah, it was a little clunkier than I remember that 2015 offense being, but it was also the first game.
It was also the first game because that was a team, as you remember, lost their Kelvin Benjamin during training camp to a torn ACL, and we're sitting there in week one wondering, how are we going to make up for this? How are we going to replace a number one wide receiver? And that was a late training camp.
It took some time.
That was a late training camp injury, too. That was like August 19th, as I recall, in the Wayback Machine or something like that. And it took them a minute. But, yeah, it certainly does make it easier when you've got a big old Cam Newton and a big old Jonathan Stewart in the backfield who can run straight through people.
Yeah,
so
that seemed to be the offense, at least in that week one game. So interested to keep watching and see how the offense evolves. The defense clearly very, very strong. I mean, they had Blake Bortles kind of in a blender all day. Josh Norman with the pick six. That was fun.
And by the way, Stu, if you're watching, and I know you are, the rest of us know who you are. And we value your contributions greatly. So
I've been a fan of Jonathan Stewart, the person, since I've been here. And now I'm realizing, like, oh, this is why people are such a fan of you as a player.
There's a reason he's always hanging around and talking about stuff. It's because he's good at the thing. So that'll be cool. I'm looking forward to, as the season goes along, you actually watching those things for the first time. That was the second time for that game.
But I didn't remember it until I started the game.
Look forward to touching base on those on this podcast throughout the course of the season, because that was quite a season to look back on. Check the Panthers YouTube channel. There's plenty of 2015 content there, whether it's our look back series, the video tributes, that kind of stuff, roundtables, JJ Jansen, Cart Talks, all that kind of stuff's there. But this 2025 season starts on Sunday. Stay tuned to Panthers.com for all the latest throughout the week. Getting ready for that game on game day. We've got all your stuff covered there. Keep it locked on to Panthers.com. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. We got podcasts all week long. Jordan and Jake, the whole crowd. We've got it for you. We know it's football season. And the next time we see you here on the Happy Half Hour, we'll have a ball game to talk about. So until then, friends, we'll see you next week on the Happy Half Hour.